Before we start talking trade rumors on this edition of the Cowboys Report, we are this close to 199,000 subscribers. Appreciate everyone who has already subbed, but I guarantee there are at least 106 people who have not yet subscribed to us here at the Cowboys Report. So if you want daily videos, hit that sub button for free right now. We're going to get into specific players who could be traded for or by the Cowboys, but I do think beginning with this makes the most sense. Pro Football Focus has argued, hey, maybe the Cowboys should be sellers at this year's trade deadline. And figuring out what the Cowboys are and what they want to be over the next month before we get to the trade deadline in early November, I think does matter a lot. Here was what PFF wrote. The Cowboys look so far from being a contender that they need to start planning for a post-Mike McCarthy future. For injury, edge defender DeMarcus Lawrence, like a player who could help a challenger and net a decent trade return for Dallas. Look, the logic in that is mostly sound. Most of us, a lot of us, thought the Cowboys were going to be 3-3. That was probably the consensus, so to speak, record prediction through the first 6 games of the season. How they've gotten there. Good win against the bad Browns team, narrow wins with the Giants and Steelers, 3 ugly losses against actually good teams. Doesn't look good. It does not inspire confidence. So if the front office is more focused on 2025 than winning all in right now, selling does make sense. And Tank Lawrence did make sense as a possible trade chip before he went down. But now trading him is kind of tough to do. Some bad luck involved there. That foot injury is going to keep him out past the NFL trade deadline. Even if you could trade him, the value probably drops significantly lower. And that's the case for a lot of your hypothetical, realistic, decent return back, maybe not going to be a part of your team next year, different top trade chips. We'll go player by player. All of them have issues here and why they might not fetch much of a return, if anything. Brandon Cooks, he's not going to be on your team next year, but now he's hurt. TBD when he gets back. Didn't look great before he got the injection that led to an infection. Zach Martin, which sometimes sacrilegious, I think is hurt. I don't think his back is 100%. And also, he is showing signs of decline. It was terrible last week. We can call it what it is. Both safeties, Lee Cooker and Donovan Wilson, not like those guys are playing well. I might cut him next offseason. Does somebody want to trade for him? Other players like Damone Clark, who might not fit your long-term view / Zimmer fit, whatever, haven't been playing great either. So it kind of puts you in a pretty tough spot in terms of getting stuff back from him that doesn't trade well anyway. Also, there's this. Even if you are more focused on 2025, would the Jones boys make it that obvious that they are giving up on the season? Would they make it so clear, yep, we're going to sell some assets, so be it? Because that's how fans don't show up to the games. That's how they don't get the attention that they so desperately crave. And to be quite honest, it does Mike McCarthy kind of dirty as well. He went from all in to, hey, we got worse in the offseason and during the season. Now, it might still be worth it because you have to focus on your organizational health and well-being than just the feelings of the head coach. Like that's where you're at, potentially. So be honest with me. What should Dallas be at the trade deadline? B for they should be buyers, S for sellers, or maybe you just write it out, and H for holders. Go vote the pinned comment of today's show. Now, if you want to buy, receiver is always a possible option, given the way this team likes to operate. Clarence Hill suggested the Cowboys should go try to trade for Jets wide receiver Mike Williams, who, by the way, did not practice today due to a personal reason, i.e., he just lost his job and they're going to try to find a trade partner for him. But I actually don't like this idea for Dallas. I get there's the name brand of Mike Williams. I'm tired of getting name brand stuff after it's expired. I don't need another, let's call it what it is, slow wide receiver who can't separate. We've made a big deal about the Cowboys' lack of separation so far this year. Only Jalen Brooks has generated less separation per target than Mike Williams has this season. I don't need more of those guys. I especially don't need one who is a rental. It would be pretty cheap. It'll only be a day 3 pick. It's not the worst idea in the world, but I don't see a ton of benefits to acquiring a player who just doesn't look that good anymore. The production has declined. I mean, he was way better in 2023 than he was in 2024. He's probably not 100%. I think the reality is let him go somewhere else. And I don't think older veterans are what you need. Play your young guys. Keep playing Jalen Tolbert. I've actually seen decent stuff from him. He's actually kind of showed up the last two games in a way that most of your team hasn't done over the course of both of those matchups. You can keep trying Kevontae Turpin. I don't want to try more Jalen Brooks stuff, but that doesn't mean I want to add a veteran to fill that role. We have a new sponsor here on the Cowboys Report. It is Ollie. Clean, fresh nutrition for your dog. 5 flavors they'll absolutely love. Right now for you guys, Ollie is offering a fantastic deal to let your pup taste a personalized meal plan. Get 60% off your first box of meals when you use promo code CHATSPORTS over at ollie.com. You don't need to be a vet to know that feeding your dog real whole foods with minimal processing is one of the best choices you can make for their health. Here's how it works. Fill out Ollie's 30-second quiz, and they'll create a customized meal plan for your dog. Ollie then crunches the numbers and recommends the right recipes and daily proportions for your pup. For any first-timers, Ollie will send out your pup's first box with 2 weeks' worth of meals and a guide on how to gradually switch them over to their new diet. You can customize your plan. Ollie offers 3 meal plans to choose from, so you can choose between a full fresh plan, fresh topper plan, or a mixed plan with freshly baked recipes. This is my dog, Finn. He needs the energy to keep up with my busy work life, my wife's busy work life, and, of course, our soon-to-be 3-year-old daughter that we have. So head to ollie.com, tell them all about your dog, and use code CHATSPORTS and get 60% off your first box of meals when you subscribe today. That's OLLIE.com and use code CHATSPORTS to get 60% off your first box. They offer a clean bowl guarantee on their first box, so if you're not completely satisfied, you can get your money back. Once again, the Trey Lance trade rumors are back. CBS Sports saying the Dolphins should trade for Trey Lance to help out and potentially replace an insurance policy and veteran backup stuff for Tua Tagovailoa. The trade idea from CBS Sports was a conditional, with no details on what said conditions were. Whatever. 5th round pick. Dolphins get Trey Lance. Look, if I got offered this right now, I am in. Whatever, Trey Lance. Like, it is what it is. You tried it. It didn't work out for you. Maybe you can become a backup for somebody. Maybe that's you. Maybe it's not. I'll take my draft pick. I'll take that, and I'll go find a different backup or just retain Rush in the offseason, because I don't think there's any long-term impact that Lance can give you outside of maybe develops into a backup, but even then, that's development stuff. My issue here is, why would the Dolphins do this? I get there's the connection between Mike McDaniel, but the only reason why so many people over the last 3 months, whatever it is, want to trade Trey Lance is because they don't think he's good. That is why you have these conversations. Because we all watch in the preseason, great athlete, can run, shows the occasional flash, wasn't very good. Made way too many mistakes. And at this point, he's still a project. We have to still learn a new offense still. It's not quite the same as it was in San Francisco or wherever he ends up going. And needs development and has a half year left on his contract. That's not a very appealing type of trade target. So be honest with me. Do you guys think anyone out there wants to trade for Trey Lance? Y for yes, N for no in the comments of today's show. A surprise one to wrap things up. Tony Pollard reunion. I was very surprised to see Maurice Jones-Drew of NFL.com list a couple of different reunions he thought made a lot of sense. One of them was Tony Pollard back to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, from a pure talent perspective, yes, of course. Pollard is still better than what you have in Rico Dowdle. He's a lot better than what you have in Ezekiel Elliott, Deuce Vaughn, and Lipke kind of remains this weird hybrid player of like everything that only really gets pass protection reps and not like a bunch of handoffs and carries. Now, Pollard has not yet hit the highs that he had in Dallas, but he's had some very good games. He's got a bunch of long runs actually this year. I think he's got 4 carries at least that are longer than any of the Cowboys have so far this year. He's averaging 5.5 against the Colts, 4.0 against the Dolphins, 5.1 against the Bears. Didn't do much against the Packers in a bit of an ugly football game. Pollard looks a little bit more like the guy we saw in 2022 and 2021 in Dallas. Turns out being a year removed from the injury makes you better. And by the way, the underlying metrics that I warned you guys about last year, like, hey, Pollard's making a lot of guys miss. The scheme and the blocking are bad. Those are still true right now. At the same time, you would also run right back into those same issues. And I think you'd get a lot closer to 2023 Tony Pollard than 2022 Tony Pollard. Although, frankly, maybe the pass-catching stuff would benefit you a little bit more than what you're getting right now out of that group. Contract also matters here in what is to be clear, a very unlikely scenario because it would require the Jones boys to say, yeah, we're the ones who screwed up, and that's not how they like to do business. Yo, you owe him a couple $1 million this year, 6.5 in 2025, 7.5 in 2026. You could cut him after 2025 if you wanted to as well. But I actually don't think Tennessee wants to do that because they view him as a multi-year asset, and they're sellers probably, but not to that extreme. I think this was more Maurice Jones-Drew just trying to get a decent back in Dallas, which I get. So prediction time. Will the Dallas Cowboys make a trade, buying or selling, before this year's NFL trade deadline? 1 for yes, 0 for no.